Introducing Helldivers. Helldivers is a game where humanity is arm wrestling the bugs with one hand and the machines on the other hand, and is trying to use its foot to enact cheat codes to defeat them both. And so, as you can see with many of these clips that I am showing you, it pretty much shows just how insane this game actually is. From almost getting your head blown off to having a multiple rocket barrage heading right at you. You can survive it all just because of freedom and democracy. And with all the weapons that you get in your arsenal, you can spread that freedom and you can spread that democracy anywhere you want. Now I am gonna say that I did start off my journey on the automaton front, but as things just got more difficult and difficult on that front, I ended up getting transferred to the Terminate front. Simply because I was an idiot, like diving right at my enemy when I honestly shouldn't be. I will also say that I am not necessarily the best at this game. A lot of times I just die, but I digress. What exactly made this game so popular? If you ask me, it's probably because the community has the one goal and one goal only: spreading democracy all across the galaxy. And what is the best way of doing this? Bombing the living out of your enemies. Now, none of this was actually as easy as you might say it is. This was my journey of playing this game. As I have mentioned before, I had started my journey basically on the automaton front. It was very much harder on the automaton front in my opinion, for multiple reasons. For one, the bots have the tendency to shoot back at you before you get a chance to shoot back at them. If you add that with the fact that they have better plot armor than you do, it's a little bit harder to take them out. And the only way for me, very early on, to be able to destroy these bots was with other people with me. But if I'm fighting against these bots on my own, it was very much harder. Simply because most of the bullets that I was shooting at them basically they bounced off. I could take out maybe the little guys pretty easily, but when it came to the big guys, no, I felt like I had to run away because I can't seem to pierce their armor. If you combine that with the fact that there are multiple enemies with different types of armor types, well, let's just say it has forced me to retreat multiple times in hopes of getting a better angle at them. So I have been learning my basics on many of these enemy types, mostly for the bots and mostly for the bugs as well. But there were also times where I had to fight on my own because my entire team has left me, forcing me to fight on my own against multiple waves of bots. And the worst part about it was that they kept sending bot drop after bot drop after bot drop. So not only was I outgunned, I was also outnumbered. And it wouldn't be long until I would end up dying to at least either a bullet or a rocket barrage. In spite of these difficulties, I was able to hold out until reinforcements were able to come. And it became a lot easier for me to deal with these guys. You know how long I have been fighting these bots on my own? But what about all the times that they don't end up showing up? There were times in this game where I had to very much fight on my own when my entire team even leaves, and nobody ends up joining up. So in those kind of cases, I was very much on my own. I was trying to survive. I was trying to dodge everything they were throwing at me. But they just got me with overwhelming force.
Our heroes have fallen, but their bodies shall be replaced and their losses restored.
So, there was a good chance that I was going to be fighting on my own most of the time. But did that make me stop playing? No. It made me better. I've learned from my mistakes. I've studied my enemies. And every time I was knocked down, I kept getting back up. Because I knew I would be the last man standing, whatever the circumstances threw at me. Learning on my own and having to fight on my own became my norm. No longer was I relying on the backs of other people. Now, I was learning how to fight on my own. Not only to prove others around me, but to prove myself. And I got knocked down multiple times. But that didn't matter. I was still back in the fight. And no matter what happened, I was always gonna be back in the fight, putting fear into my enemies. And protecting the galaxy from communist machines. Or die trying. Unfortunately, we lost. And as a result of my failure, I had to be transferred to the Terminid front, where I eventually found out that things were a lot different here. Let me explain. So you know with the machines, they have like these red dots that you shoot at and they automatically die? Well, let's just say the bugs don't have that. Their biggest weakness is either the legs or the head. And they actually are pretty easy to actually take out. So long as you have like good armor penetrating kind of weaponry, you should be fine. Also, the flamethrower is possibly the best kind of stratagem to use against the bugs. Now, this game clip right here is actually pre-patched before the flamethrower was buffed. Nevertheless, it was still a very powerful weapon to use. Knowing full well that I could just use my flamethrower to
burn all of my enemies alive
has some benefits. It kind of keeps the bugs from coming a bit too close to you. Just be careful with using it though. There's a good chance that you may end up burning yourself in the process. Also, while being on a completely different front whatsoever, I was able to learn that you should be able to explore a little bit more and grab samples wherever you can, because grabbing whatever kind of loot you can find will be very much helpful for you. I'm sure there was a lot of loot that I have missed out on the automaton front, but now that I know full well that there are caches everywhere that I can basically collect medals, super credits, and samples in, I've been more exploring while also
burning bugs alive.
There's just a lot of satisfaction of being able to complete a mission, knowing full well that you have managed to collect as much as you can. Because, let's just face it, you're gonna need samples when you're dealing with much more higher challenging difficulties. As you can see, I have been mostly playing on medium difficulty, but as time went on, I have been trying to play on challenging. All in all, this is still such a great game. And this game has so much potential. And with such an active player base like it has right now, there's absolutely no way that they're just gonna abandon this game, at all. Not for years. This is without a doubt one of the most ambitious games that anybody has ever developed. At all. Now, there's still a lot of things I'm learning about this game. But if there's one thing I know about this game, there is more than one way to kill a bug. Boom! Worth it.